Welcome all to the first annual Mindful Practice Student Voice Summit, aiming for action and agency. My name is Winfred Sanchez. I'm a student at UMass Amherst.
Thank you for being part of the Student Voice Summit. We are glad that you are here.
We are honored to be sharing space with you all today, and we are excited that you could join us for this summit. My name is Luke Richards, and I'm a junior at Wheaton Warrenville South High School. Throughout this summit, you'll be hearing from a diverse group of students represented from several states across the U.S., ranging in grade levels from elementary through college, and with all of us sharing our voices in a variety of ways, including student panels, interviews, speeches, and performances. We will be sharing our opinions, struggles, and perspectives on mental health and wellness, social emotional learning, race and equity, COVID-19 and remote learning, leadership, and youth involvement in our world, as well as our hopes for the future. Our number one agreement we'd like to norm on throughout the summit is to take care of you.
Okay, hear me out. We all thought coronavirus was going to be nothing, right? We all just thought it was going to be a passing cloud with some showers, right? But no, corona is hurting people by the day. No, by the second. People are hurting because their family is dying. There are people that don't understand how much that impacts others. There are people in the world that just don't understand what it feels like to lose people that they love.
It was devastating to see people heartbroken of what their final year of their school will be.
This past year has affected all of us. When the pandemic began, it shook everyone's world. Schools went virtual, people were getting sick, life was canceled.
It is bad. It took some stuff away from me, like the basketball teams stopped. I can't see my friends in school because they don't do it online. And I have to wear a mask everywhere I go. And I have to do online school, which is way harder than on real life. And I have to stay 6 feet away from people.
This past year, the majority of students have been out of school. It's been tough to wake up every day and look at a screen for 6 hours. On top of that, we have to deal with home distractions that we wouldn't deal with at school. The mentality for students has become, we're not learning, we're just trying to pass.
So we all know the horrible year 2020. Yes, that's what we're talking about. So I decided to write this speech. 2020 has been the worst year. We had Corona, the worst president, and worse, we had the mask. We have been in quarantine for about a year, and when I tell you, it has been the worst year. 2020 has been really stressful. We have been in online school for 8 months, and it has been really hard being on computer. We all had our ups and downs in 2020, although a couple things had been good in 2020, but it could have been way better.
2020, the year of COVID and annoying masks. So we all know 2020 was horrible. We all know the masks are annoying. So I drew this piece to represent how I feel about 2020, COVID-19, but most importantly, masks. This piece represents how I've been feeling restricted from doing anything. I couldn't go anywhere without a mask. Masks give most of us anxiety because we had to wear them 24/7. To be honest, all of us lost hope at least once in the year of 2020. But we all show that we are strong individuals that survived COVID. All of us are heroes at the end of the day. I know the masks were irritating and also bothered our faces, but all I know is that 2021 should do better.
I'm going to share some pros and cons of having COVID March of last year. Here are my thoughts. Well, a good thing about COVID is I got more time with my family, but a bad thing about it is that I had too much time because I was trapped in my room with COVID. Another pro is that I watched a lot of TV, if that was a good thing, but everything else I did made me dizzy, like walking, talking, blinking, breathing, that all made me sleepy. A con of COVID is that I thought my grandpa and my father were going to die because they were in the hospital with COVID. Another con, I was trapped in my room and I could not do anything, and I was wondering how long I had to be in there. Another con is it made me feel really sad to have to slip notes in and out of my parents' bedroom because I could not see them. I had a lot more cons.
There's a lot of people that really went through a bunch of situations during COVID and like the school like system. But I just wanted to like express how like I've seen this happen on my side, and how this also is happening to other people, other students around like the world that have to also go through this same situation.
Our problems should not be ignored because people think there are worse things. One person's pain should not take away from another person's pain. We experience things that no other generation has experienced. Nobody should be allowed to tell you how you feel. Everyone must be aware of these things. Teen depression, teen anxiety, teen stress, it's all real. It's time that we realize that our mental health matters.
Wow, this year definitely with the pandemic and the movements and everything, it's crazy to see how there's a lot of young voices trying to express the pain and the struggles that a lot of other people who aren't able to express themselves. Um, this the elections and the movements definitely have shown me that it just highlights how hard it is for people like us to move forward in a society that's really designed for us to fail. Um, and for me, honestly, it just makes me want to go harder and prove a lot more people wrong. Um, and I hope it drives you guys the same way, because there shouldn't be no reason that we're held back from our potential. You guys are bright students, and you guys don't deserve to be held back in any way because of the color of your skin or because of what you guys believe in.
Dear Black people, we are a joy. We are each engulfed by a lineage of liberation. Our souls deeper than dusk in hearts, although heavy, hold history wholly enough to heal hate. Don't get it confused though. Your Black wasn't only created to cradle movements. Your Black is movement. It's soul train dips and swaying hips. It's the cha-cha slide at your uncle's cookout. It's the gra-ra and shaku shaku when you playing it cool in a dance battle with your cousins, acting like fools. It's dembo that fills the streets during the summer heat. It's compa that reminds you to be light on feet. You can't lie. There's something rhythmic about the way we be, something special about how you can never take the soul out of me. Our Blackness prevailed even as the first ship sailed. They try to break us apart, but didn't know what our spirits entailed. They try to rob us from each other, but the diaspora was how we met again. Our native tongues dance around each other as we realize we are all kin. Staple meals like rice and beans fill our bellies. Our curl patterns are rooted in the 4Cs. See how you can never steal our joy. See how Blackness is still the blueprint, even through all the fake decoys. See how we still dancing, still breathing, still living. Dear Black people, you are the epitome of love, from the city girls to the street thugs. Your life didn't become more valuable when you learned to be more like them. But mainstream media got white folks thinking to love a Black person is to solely obsess over their skin. And y'all gotta go harder than that, I'll admit. But I wanna focus on my people for just a second. If you Black, I want you to know you a blessing. From our deep belly laughs to that Black girl sass, we don't always hear this, but you're perfect just the way you are. You don't need to look further than within to realize you're a star. Dear Black people, we make centuries of pain look easy. There's something special about the way we be, something special about how you can never take the souls out of we. And I'm just gonna share a little bit about this poem because I feel like it's really important to share the reason why I wrote this. I wrote this piece because throughout all the killings that are happening in our community, especially with police violence, and just like the system we grow up in as Black people, we're taught not to value ourselves, and we're taught not to, take value in the little things about us that make us special, like our rhythm or our curly hair or just the way we speak. And I think that sometimes oppression can make you feel really less than, but like, I want Black people to remember that, you know, the school you go to, or how well you can code switch, or you know how much you can fit in a room with all white people doesn't determine your worth. And I just want to remind y'all that like, you don't need to change yourself to be a beautiful person or be a successful person. You just have to become your highest self. And you know, just like remember, like, it's lit being Black. You know, don't forget you're special and you mean a lot to the world.
There are lots of groups that you can join that will really value your culture and help you learn more about it. But I think something that's missing from that is kind of making it like a really certified activity, kind of getting more people involved, kind of like giving it a space where learning about what your culture is can like flourish.
I am actually an African American, Nigerian, Jamaican, and in our family house we have serious culture, very serious culture. It's like people have knowledge of their past history. It's like a tree with no roots. And we are going to take a mindful break and practice sunrise breath. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna sit up straight, and we're gonna roll back our shoulders, like that. And then once we've done that, we are going to breathe in, reach our arms up to our heads, and then we're gonna breathe out as we bring them back down. And we're gonna repeat this process 3 times. So here we go. So we're gonna breathe in. And breathe out as we bring them down. And then again. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. So for this last one, we're gonna do it one last time. So breathe in. And we're gonna take our hands, we're gonna glue them together, we're gonna bring it down to our hearts, and we're gonna breathe out.
This past year, I've started getting more familiar with what social emotional learning is and what mindfulness is, just because like my yoga class talks about it a lot. But I've been trying to like, when I feel stressed, I just try to write down my thoughts and kind of just get everything on paper so I can map out what I'm actually thinking. But that's kind of how I've tried to be more mindful, or I'll try to like get outside and really look at big picture other than kind of focusing on like the small anxieties that come through.
I like to relieve stress is to play tennis, because I play tennis basically every day, and I feel like it is something that you can do to like take your mind off things, because like tennis is a game that it's both a team game and a game you just do by yourself. So I feel like that's pretty helpful.
And one thing that would probably be most helpful, I would just try to just listen to music, just try and maybe tune things out. And I would just write. I would write about the problems, and I would write about what I was feeling.
That helped me was like art, painting, like going outside sometimes to paint.
It's just to do something that isn't like that. I'm not gonna think about the stressors in my life. So one thing I do a lot is I go biking a lot. I go for a couple hours when I get the chance to really just like focus on biking and not on the other stressors in my life. And it really does relieve stress for me and makes me more, it brings, I guess, a more of peace with what I have to do next.
I think our school does prioritize students' mental health and wellness, just because I feel like the teachers at our school just care a lot about the students they have in class. But there are also like programs and communities that you can join But this past year, I think it's been a little harder just because of the virtual setting. Like a lot of virtual kids haven't really had that sense of like community that we have in the past years in terms of like getting support with mental health.
Teachers are sometimes mindful, they'll notice if an A student becomes a B or C student. But I'd also like to say that teachers should be mindful of their students that are already D students, because none of those kids, in my opinion, are just lazy. None of those D students are just lazy. There's always something else going on. They have mental problems too. Teachers will see students that miss class because of rehab and they're like, oh, they're just, drug users, and they don't pay as much attention to them when their grades aren't doing as good. But drug users are just students that have mental health issues and have access to those drugs, and it's unfortunate.
We've all heard adults tell kids, you have no reason to be stressed, you don't pay bills, you don't go to work. That's what I like to call toxic adulting. Although we might not pay bills or go to work, we go to school and we deal with other issues. Just because we're younger does not mean our issues should be minor compared to adults.
So I was diagnosed with major depression, general anxiety, and social anxiety when I was, I think, 11. So I was really young. And that was very damaging to me, 11 years old, being told, you're going to go to therapy, and if anyone finds out, you're ruined. There are some people who still believe that people with anxiety or depression, or now I've been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, those kinds of people like me, have to be a certain way, that we're manipulative or we're lazy or we can't do anything, and that's not true. And the more people who come out and talk about it, the easier it'll be for people who are young getting diagnosed to get the help they need. I know for a fact that if I hadn't been so terrified of my own panic attacks when I was 10, I would have gotten help way earlier than I did, and my life would have been so much easier. So I decided to share breaking out of the ER because this is a discussion that we need to have. It's a hard discussion, but much harder things come out of it if we don't talk about it.
As humans, we are naturally social, which shows the importance of speaking to others about our lives and experiences. In theory, that would mean that we would be able to talk about our issues and feelings, our hardships, right? Although it might sound very simple, when this theory is put into practice, something much different arises. A lot of shame and guilt arises inside when asking for help. That feeling of disgrace, knowing that if you excuse yourself to go out of a classroom or an office, or if you break down in that workplace or school building, that all your peers, all your coworkers, your friends will judge you. So you ball it up, you throw it away. But it doesn't vanish, does it? No. Instead, think about a trash can. No matter how many times you push it down, no matter how many times you ignore it, you're going to have to take care of it at some point. Many people have suffered with mental illness. Mental illness is not a new thing. Many of us have suffered. I know I have, and that's why I'm talking about it, because it's an issue, and these stigmas around it are hurting a lot of people. The stigma around us is a huge blockade that is in the way of getting the help that you need or that someone else you know needs.
I would like to give a sincere and wholehearted thank you. You have saved me from incredible depressions. I cannot put to words how much it means to me that so many people are willing to support me in what I want to do. For so long, I've always thought that I would end up with some dead-end job that I would hate for the rest of my life, and that I would just be miserable and unhappy the entire time. But that's starting to look like it's not the case. Things are starting to look up. And really happy about that. I'm really proud of myself for making it this far. But I believe the moral of this story is never stop chasing your dreams. Always, no matter what gets in your way, continue pursuing what you want to do. Don't listen to the naysayers. Don't let them put you down. Don't let them tell you that you're never going to end up doing what you want, that you're always going to end up with some other job that's not what you were expecting. As long as you put your mind to it, and as long as you put in everything you have, you take the risks, you take every opportunity you're given, you can succeed. You can make it.
Hi, it's Anna again. Hope you guys are enjoying the summit. We're going to take a mindful break and practice positive affirmations. I personally am a very anxious person, and I feel like positive affirmations really help me to calm my nerves and to just center me, and hope they can help you. So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna lean back on either a wall, or if you're on a chair, you lean on a chair, and we are going to either stare into an object in the room, or we can close our eyes, and you're going to repeat the words that I will repeat. So you just repeat after me. So we're going to close our eyes, and we're going to repeat. I am awesome. I am capable. I am enough. I am awesome. I am capable. I am enough. I am awesome. I am capable. I am enough. I am awesome. I am capable. I am enough. I am awesome. I am capable. I am enough. I am awesome. I am capable. I am enough. And we're going to open our eyes, and we're going to take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Thank you.
Not too many adults really understand that not only are they having a rough time, that we are having a very rough time as well. With basically having our schools closed down, having to wear masks, and just having just a new, different type of society. And I feel like that not only are they having problems, but we have problems too. And that if we maybe mess up on something, and if we don't do something correctly, then we shouldn't be judged or ridiculed by that. We're all going through a rough time too.
The obvious, teachers aren't going to know what's happening at home with students, because unless students tell them, how could they? And a lot of times when there's things going on at home, kids don't want to talk about it.
Teachers did kind of give us a space to really process. Like one of my art teachers made a separate breakout room if we wanted to talk about like the political stuff that was happening, or like the racial injustices that were going on. So I thought that was really helpful, especially if like, it was really a passionate time. So that was really helpful. But I think that most of the time some students might be afraid to speak about those things because it's like creating conflict in such a vulnerable place like school.
One way that I think teachers can work on their relationship with their students is probably by like spending more time with them and not just all learning, maybe just like a couple minutes of the day to getting to know each other.
I really like how he talks to us like we're not even his students. I just love how he talks to us like we're his friends.
He respects like personal problems that we have going on. He understands like where we're coming from. He loves hearing like our own opinions about like all kinds of topics, and yeah, it's just that he loves us for who we are, and I feel like that's something that I can really see in him, and I appreciate him for.
I feel like teachers really do take into account how students are feeling, because like a lot of teachers give students grace periods on homework and stuff. And I feel like students who don't usually put their camera on, feel like teachers like take the time to like stay after class and like talk to the students, see if they're okay. And I feel like that's pretty good.
It's important that teachers and students have a relationship that not just depends on the basis of learning, but also personally.
It's good to have a connection with a teacher, especially in high school. High school is not the easiest stage and little chapter in our lives. So having someone that we feel like we could be ourselves and they are their themselves with us is something that when I was in high school and even in middle school, I took with me till this day, and I carry it with me. My closest teachers, I still talk to, and they're like my biggest mentors and people that I know I could count on.
Now nearing the end of Mindful Practice's first annual Student Voice Summit, aiming for actions and agency. Thank you all again for joining us today and holding space for all of our amazing students who participated in the summit. We are so honored that you joined us. Again, big shout out to all the student participants who share their opinions, struggles, and perspectives on mental health and wellness, social emotional learning, race and equity, COVID-19 and remote learning, leadership in youth, involvement in our world, and our hopes for the future. And thank you to Mindful Practices for giving students a platform to come together and to be seen and heard.